אני אשמח לתת. I'm happy to give a talk now. It's really about the wisdom mind, which is so, it's where we are, practice is taking us. It's where we are going. So I want to, if I can, summarize it somehow. Not so easy, it's a huge subject. But let's start with looking at a few examples. We're in challenge and stress right now and fear. So the ordinary mind would put us under pressure to find ways out, to reduce the pain, to reduce the fear, maybe by taking action based on the fear, so as to reduce the fear or reduce the anger. It's to be basically struggling with it. Whereas the wisdom mind would go closer to it, would see the way we build the now out of it, and we build ourselves out of it. We'll see how it develops, whether it's fear, anxiety, views about the situation, what we say to other people, whatever. Would get close to it. We'll see the way we are building our experience, and we're building ourselves out of it. We'll see how it develops, and we'll see how it dies away and what happens then. And we'll see also there's moments where it doesn't exist, and we can have quiet and inner peace in the middle of it all. So they're the two, ordinary mind, wisdom mind. Another example, very random. Ordinary mind would say consciousness is in the brain. We have to look to see how it works. The brain is a machine. We are pretty well like machines. We can cut to be ourselves to pieces in terms of reductionist philosophy, and measure everything, and then we'll understand it. And the wisdom mind says, no, wait a minute, explore consciousness from the inside, not from the outside through a microscope. Trust it. Ask the question, what is it like to be conscious? And where can it take me? So that's the wisdom mind, as opposed to the ordinary mind. The ordinary mind would look at the night sky and measure the stars and look at the distances and think about billions of stars and think they're made of rock and all the space. And the wisdom mind wouldn't measure anything, would be amazed, just amazed. So lack of wisdom, that means avidya, non-wisdom, would tend to believe the world of experiences, of appearances, and believe the way things seem to be. The ordinary mind would believe habits of mind and not notice that they are there. For example, a habit of mind that says, I'm a failure, or a habit of mind that says that is judgmental, shiputi, would see them as that's who I am, that's the way things are, I believe them, and so on. The lack of wisdom is usually creating problems and suffering by forcing us to endlessly respond and to cope and to defend and to try and make things better and so on. And it leaves a life of non-stop turning the wheel. There's a Tibetan phrase that says, all appearances arise as enemies. So the ordinary mind would build a world from external conditions, not noticing that we're doing that, and then sitting inside it, like wearing clothes that don't fit, and believe that's the one, that is it, reality. And we tend to live on automatic. Wisdom is defined as the eye that sees profound isness, suchness, kachut. The eye that sees deep kachut, suchness. It's a deep knowing. It's a knowing the deeper truth of things. A Zen phrase that says, the way, the Dharma, is perfect. You could say life. It's perfect like vast space where nothing is missing and nothing is extra. Our choices to choose this and to reject that prevents us from seeing this simple truth. So wisdom is a knowing, a bigger knowing that frees us, that is beyond concepts, that is not analytic, that philosophy and analytic thinking can help the wisdom. It's not that we have to not read books of philosophy. It can all help us. But like Wittgenstein, a lot of wisdom there. But most of the wisdom is, he said, in the end, I can't say. The rest is silence. And that's where the philosophy gives way to wisdom. At the end of philosophy, the philosophers say, the rest is silent. But there's a lot of wisdom in for example, a philosopher like Wittgenstein. So the wisdom is being with things, is being with the world. It's not just left brain analytic, but it's not just right brain, it's big brain. It includes the details and the beautiful things in life and the flower that's just coming up that we usually don't notice, and the way an insect moves, or the way my chickens lay an egg, or the way it includes the small things of reality and the beauty of the moment, and it includes the big thing, the infinite as well. So I want to explore an aspect that I've been interested in recently, an aspect of wisdom, which is the aspect that in the Kabbalah is called Binah, but it's the feminine way of looking. And it comes from the word, the Buddha, you may know this, and maybe you've heard me talk about this before, but it comes from the concept of a womb, that the wisdom gives birth. It's the consciousness that gives birth. It has fruit. It's not just knowing round and round, endless knowing. It gives birth. And the Buddha said that he went on his final journey to enlightenment by using female wisdom called Yoniso Manasikara. And Yoniso Manasikara is the female aspect of wisdom. It comes from the word yoni, which is the birth canal, Talan Leda. So this female is like a light that lights up darkness, and it undoes the kind of automatic and the assumptions and the convictions and the belief systems and the M dot. The feminine is always undoing that And he's saying, there's no M dot. There is just connecting, seeing, allowing, being with. So in the tradition, it isn't just meditation. Wisdom can come from contemplation, can come, of course, from meditation. It can come from basic clarity that we have. The Beatles' songs were this full of wisdom. The Fool on the Hill sees the world going round. It's one of the Beatles' songs. I don't know that the Beatles did endless meditation, but there was some beautiful wisdom there. Its wisdom comes from many different places. Meditation is one, but also all the other things in the Eightfold Path. Wisdom is the last of the Eightfold Path. Many of the other things in the Eightfold Path lead to wisdom. For example, understanding our speech, understanding ethics, and how we are in the world, understanding our thought and our intention. Understanding non-duality, the right view, the first of the Eightfold Path. Non-duality, there isn't such a thing as duality. It's our mind that makes it. So we do have to be a little careful not to put meditation too high. That's a kind of cultural aspect that happened in the Western world. It's also then to some extent in the Eastern world. But if you really look at the way Buddhists have practiced over thousands and thousands of years, there have been those that said meditation in caves is the thing. But there's an awful lot of Buddhists, maybe most of them, that only go to meditate in a cave after they've spent years and years doing other things for the sake of awakening. I talk about it in my new book, which is about building a building with stones. And awakening comes in a way as the fruit of lots of activity and lots of challenges during activity. Think of Milarepa. His teacher, Naropa, said, go and build a house on top of that hill with stones. So he pulled all these stones up the hill and he built a house. And then the teacher said, sorry, knock it down. Now build it on the next hill. And he pulled the stones and pulled the stones and pulled the stones up. And then the teacher said, no, knock it down. Build it on the other hill over there. And he did this for years, hauling stones up and building a building and then knocking it down again. And it's a very important story in my own book that, like I say, that's coming out. And all of that activity was to burn up self-importance, to burn up the self-importance. The ego, you can call it in a superficial way, but it goes deeper than that. It's not just ego. It's a sense of us separate from the world. It's deeper than ego. It burns up our sense of isolation, of separation, of duality, of the observer and the observed. And then he went into a cave for a year, and that's it. Became one of the greatest Tibetan sages. And again we see this in great sages, that they don't just, even the Buddha, he wasn't just meditating for 7 years. A lot of his practice was sagfanut, was austerity, walking from endlessly around North India, and after became a Buddha. It wasn't meditation all the time, it was so many other things too. But one of the places that's easiest for us to define wisdom is the three characteristics. They are classical. They are examples of what happens when we look more deeply at experience. And you all know the three characteristics, dukkha, anicca, anatta. I won't go into them all over again deeply, but they're always there as invitations to look more deeply. When we get lost, when we identify with what we think, when we believe stuff and then get challenged, when we're in conflict because of our beliefs and assumptions and our positions, when we get just thinking endlessly, lying there at night, sort of the mind going at 100 miles an hour, we know dukkha. We know there's dukkha there. The unpleasant works in us and tells us that this is dukkha. This is where you're not a Buddha. That's dukkha. Or at least, should we say, you think you're not a Buddha. That's dukkha. If we think we're not Buddha, that's enough. That's dukkha already. If we think we're not awakened, that's dukkha. So, of course, there's subtle dukkha, and then there is big, big dukkha, heavy-duty dukkha, sickness and loss and violence like now, and wars and pain and anger and confusion. And so we have subtle dukkha, we have big-time dukkha. But the awareness of it as dukkha, as suffering of being born in a body and part of samsara, that's already seeing things more deeply instead of just saying life is shit. It's just, instead of just getting lost in the pain, we actually see the pain arising and knowing it as dukkha. Anicca, as in a meditation, a line drawn on water. The world is moving, everything is moving and changing, nothing is fixed. This moment has never happened before. Right now, as I'm talking and you're listening, our minds are moving so fast, and every moment is gone. We can't even catch it. It's gone already. We can't catch it for 1 second. And anicca is one of the three characteristics, is liberated. Everything liberates itself. I mean, just think for a minute. A thought as a fixed thing, like, I don't like what I had for supper. A thought as a fixed thing that we believe is a structure in the mind. If we look at that thought, it undoes itself. We see it's empty and made of nothing. It's a picture that arises because of some interest we had to have a nice supper. So the interest creates a solidity of thinking. Interest, desire, aversion, anger, emotion, anxiety, they make thought look solid. But if we look carefully at thought, it frees itself. And as it frees itself, it frees us. And that's a very profound understanding of anicca as something that we hold as solid and real and permanent, like a view or tavnit mentally or anything. As we look at it carefully and it undoes itself, and deconstructs itself, it takes us with it. We become less solid as we see that our thoughts are less solid. So there's something about anicca that liberates itself and liberates us. And anatta what can I say? Emptiness. I'm not saying I can't say anything because I'm empty. I don't have anything to say anymore. Look at things. Look at things as objects, and look at things as mystery. Look at ourselves as a person, and look at ourselves as an endless fountain of impressions and memories and persons, and we're a whole community of activity, each one of us. And then we describe ourselves as a person. So if we look again with a wisdom eye, we look through things, they become dissolved, they become endless. Where does it stop and where does it finish and where does it start? This object, this thought, this thing, this person, where is its source? Where is it? What's its source? Where's it going? It's interesting. Once the Buddha was asked, what will happen to you after death? I really want to know. It's such a mystery to me. What will happen to you? Where are you going to be after death? And the Buddha said, come on. Do you know me as when I'm alive and standing in front of you? Do you know what this person is? Can you really know this person? The Buddha was once asked, how do you recognize a wise person, a sage, an enlightened person? And the Buddha said, you recognize them because you can't find them. Why can't you find them? Because they don't belong to any categories anymore. They're not describable in ordinary language, in ordinary mind, in ordinary descriptions. Doesn't fit. So it's Anatta is a very, of course, a huge subject, but it gives you a sense of where wisdom takes us. And wisdom is always in a way beyond. The story about how do you recognize an enlightened person is very important, because if you, for example, with Zen, the Zen practice is, a lot of it is just taking something and just looking at it and saying, what is this? Can we really know what is this? We've got a habit. I learned in school, this is a pen. I learned it, but what really is going on? And what is this thing? It's just been learnt. It's imprinted in the brain. But where does that imprinting come from? And the brain says this is a pen. But what is the brain and what is the pen? So it's really wisdom undoes things and allows uncertainty, because it's more true. Mystery is more true than our sense of litfos, to catch and fix things with descriptions. If it's not mysterious, it's not true, said one Western poet. I don't know, I can't remember who. But the Buddhist version of that, from the text, is whatever we conceive something to be, the reality is other than that. And so a lot of the wisdom mind is about questions, and gradually the questions and the doubt or the uncertainty become wisdom. That we live with the question, and the question itself goes deeper and deeper and becomes amazement and becomes open, non-fixed awareness that is just free. Radical openness. A sense of the totality of the world that is offering itself to us at every moment. So as I mentioned in the meditation, wisdom is held by all the other powers. The trust to help us feel safe in the unknown and to feel we are with the world and not against it, and to allow things, energies to keep going, to have motivation and interest, not go to sleep. Mindfulness is to see clearly the nature of our experience. Samadhi is to have a steady gaze, to stop. Lishhot, to stay with things. And wisdom a lot of times is happening by itself. When we work with the other four, wisdom appears as we uncover things. And it doesn't need to be, my language has been sometimes big words, but also little things. It's subtle moments when we realize we're holding something as truth, and suddenly we see, well, it's not so quite like that anymore. That's a moment of wisdom too. We have a construction about a person or about another person. Now we have a construction about the other, about them, and we begin to question that. Maybe it's just a view. Do I really know? But it can be small things. Do I really know what's going on? Maybe I look again. It also has a heart, by the way, because the English word respect, kavod in Hebrew, respect means to look again. Respect. Spec is to see, and re is again. To look again at something. So looking again also is respect. So I'm kind of getting to the end of this talk. I've said a lot. It's only been half an hour. I think I've said gone around the whole planet in half an hour.
אתה דיברת מהר והרבה.
Oi, so I should slow down.
לא, זה בסדר. אבל אמרת המון.
I said a lot, it's true. Wisdom, as I say, can be very big. It can be cosmic, realization of the cosmos with no boundaries. And it can be very small, seeing this flower on the side of the road and seeing how beautiful it is, and a sense of the divine that made this flower and made this person and made this moment. And final thing is that wisdom is a way of being. It's not just a kind of state of consciousness. It's a way of being in the world. It's more than in the consciousness. It's the way the whole of us is in the world, which is unlimited, which doesn't know limits, which is infinite. Okay, so I've said it all in half an hour at fast forward, like putting the cassette on fast. So when if you listen to it again, and I hope you do, so play it a bit more slowly. Maybe the computer's a way of slowing down. So yeah, let's have some dialogue.